Hi everyone, this is Ida of Created to Create. Welcome back to my channel. I wanted to share with you all, I've said earlier in a video that I was getting more familiar with my brother's Scan and Cut and figuring out how to cut some of my stamps images in my brother's Scan and Cut, and I wanted to share with you how easy it is. And if I know somebody left a comment that it was just a door stopper or a paperweight or something, their brother Scan and Cut machine, even though it's an older version, they work really well because the one I had previous to this was the older one, but it still had the screen. I loved it. The only reason I parted with it, one is because I gave it to my daughter Abby. Two, because she bought me the new one because I use it more than she does. She bought me the new one, or she thought I would use it more than she did. She bought me the newest one, the DX. So that's the only reason I parted with it, but I absolutely loved it. And what you can do with just about everything you can do with this one, you can do with the old one. So I'm going to share with you a couple of pointers. Let me see if I can get another light over here as well, because um, I see that it's a little bit dim over here where I have my machine, and completely forgot to set up a light, but it will only take me a couple of minutes and I will have one set up. That way you guys can get a better look at, so you guys can see better what I'm doing. So let me just plug it up. I have everything handy right here, so it's not a big deal. It is not a big deal. We can get a light in here pretty quick. So I hope that's better. But I want to share with you how easy it is to cut it. Now I'm going to grab my images, and hopefully I'll give you a couple of pointers. When you stamp your images, here's the one that I did. Make sure that that you stamped it very well and you don't have any openings in your design that you stamp, because a lot of times when we don't press down hard enough, there is an opening and our design is not outlined very well. So this one, as you can see, it's not the contrast is not very big. I embossed it in silver embossing powder, and it's on white cardstock, so there's not a big contrast between the two colors, but you're going to see how well it's going to work. So that's one, and I already have one loaded in the mat. But I want to share with you what I was talking about. If you notice this one right here, the image is not, it's not closed up right there. And I'm going to share with, and this one as well. So I'm going to share with you how to fix that. All you really have to do, because there's a very faint line, you can see it, is with a pencil, and I'm going to do that right now. Actually, I'm not, because I want to scan it and I want you to see how that's going to cause a problem, and then I'm going to rescan it after I fix that. That way you guys can see how it does correct that and how easy it is to cut. Now, this was a gift from my friend Jackie for my birthday, and I have been creating it's black, silver, and white tone Christmas embellishments, and I wanted to create some flowers, and she did give me the die that goes to this. There is a coordinating die. This is by Heartfelt Creations, but after a while of cutting flowers repetitively, you will put wear and tear on your dies. So I thought, let me try it with my machine, see what it does. And it did very, very well. I will show you some that I did already that are already finished. But first I want to share with you how to cut this. So I already have one, like I said, already loaded up on my mat. And another tip for you as well, if your mat becomes to where it's not very tacky, I use this glue. It's a Zig glue, and if I can find it, I will link it in the description box. But all I do is you have to push it down and for the glue to come out. And after I get just a very small puddle. I just kind of rub it back and forth because it does have a little foam at the bottom. Not too much because I don't want it to stick permanently, but just enough to make it a little tacky. And that's what I do to my mat. So anyway, here is the image that I already did, and I'm gonna go ahead and load it up, and I'm gonna zoom you in on the screen because you don't need to see what I'm doing down here as far as loading the mat, because most of you probably already know how to do that. What I want to share with you is how to scan it, how to make sure that to be able to delete something if you need to, and to make sure that everything is outlined the way it should look for a good cut. So all I'm going to do here is I'm going to just touch my screen. I'm going to say okay. What happens is when you do that, the rollers move. So that's it. And I'm going to go ahead, and the only thing I'm doing right now is loading my mat. So I'm going to just press the load button, and let me move you to the screen, because what I really want you to see is the screen. So I'm just going to load my mat. I'll adjust it in a little bit because I want you to see better, the screen a little bit better. Okay, so mine is already loaded up. Let's adjust it, get a little closer, hopefully to the screen. And I hope this is a good angle, and I hope it's not blurry, because I really want you to see what I'm doing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to push, just tap the scan, and then I'm going to do a direct cut. The reason I'm doing a direct cut is because I don't want to save the image. If you want to save the image to cut out outlines, then I would say scan to cut data. That's what I would do. But for this, we're just going to do a direct cut. So I'm going to touch direct cut. And it's asking you to select a device to convert the scanned image to a cutting data. And we're not doing it on the computer. For this, you don't even have to have a computer. So we're going to touch the machine, and right here is where you select whether it's a colored image or a black and white. Because even though my image is not embossed in black, it is in silver. It's only two colors. It's white and another color. So I'm going to stick with the black and white. If I wanted to change it to color, I would push this little wrench right there, and I'm going to share with you. Then I would choose the color, but that's not what I'm going to do. I'm going to go back to the black and white and say okay. So I'm going to tell it to start scanning, and right now it's going to scan, and it doesn't take it very long as well. I hope that I make this video where it's very user friendly. That way you can get more familiar with your machines, and if you're using them as door stoppers or paperweights, please don't. Do something with your machine. So here is the image, and it's outlined, and you can't see it very well, but once we have it to this section, we're just going to touch OK. Now you see the arrow here and the arrow here, and you see all these marks. These are marks that are on my mat, and if I don't frame this little area I want to cut, well, it's going to give me a cut line for all those scratches that are on my mat, and we don't want to do that. So I'm just going to tap the arrow and just bring it in to frame those flowers as closely as possible. Now you see how this is grayed out now? That means it's not going to pick that up. It's not going to pick anything that's grayed out. So I'm going to go preview. And I want to take a closer look. So if I want to take although it looks pretty good there, I still want to take a closer look. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to tap this magnifying glass right there, and now it's going to bring it larger. And I can see that everything is outlined very well. Let me even bring it up some more. So I want you to see it closely. With this arrow, it slides the image to the side, either to the right or to the left, and this one right here slides it up and down. So by pushing that, I can see that I have a line right there that I don't want, and I'm going to show you how to delete that. And let's say one of these flowers didn't outline correctly, but I still wanted to go ahead and cut the other ones I had on there, or it did do them correctly, but I didn't want to cut them. I'm going to share with you how to delete that. So I'm going to move it down. Everything looks pretty good. As you can tell, everything's outlined very nicely. So I'm going to say okay. And then I'm going to say okay again. Now I'm going to go into the edit mode because I want to delete that line that was there. So right in this screen, I'm going to push edit. And see how there's a little box around that image? Well, I want to keep that, but the way that I scroll or toggle through all the different elements on here is with these arrows right here. So I'm going to just, if you can see, it's going to be moving the squares, and those are all the things that it's going to cut. But when I get to that line, see, now it's only on that little line right there. And I'm sorry I can't bring this in. Well, maybe I could. See how let's bring it even more. And I'm going to move it up. You don't have to do this because you can see it, but I just want to bring it in so you guys can see. See how the red line is only on this little line right there? That's what I want you to see. So I'm going to go to OK. So it's selected on that little line. All I'm going to do is touch this little trash can, and I'm going to say OK, and it's going to remove that. Now everything else I want to cut, so I'm not going to do anything but say okay, it looks good. Okay. And then I'm going to go, okay, it really looks good. So now we're going to push this right here. And this is where you select whether you wanted to draw or cut or whatever you wanted to do. So we're going to select that and we're going to say cut. And now all I have to do, or you have to do, I would recommend that you pause the video, go stamp something out, whether it's just in black or brown or emboss or whatever you want to do. That way you can follow along with me, and you're going to see that you can get very comfortable with your machine. And the more you do it, you don't even have to think about it anymore. So I'm going to go to start, and it's going to start cutting it for me. Now I have the SDX 125, and what that is that it recognizes, it has a sensor in the blade that recognizes the thickness in my paper. So I don't have to adjust my blade or anything because it's reading the thickness of the paper. And the other ones you would have to, this is 100, I believe this is 110-pound cardstock. And I guess you would put it like maybe in 7 on the previous version of the Brother Scan and Cut. But you have to be careful because it can rip the mat. I did that. Trust me. So it says it's going to take 2 minutes here to cut, and it shouldn't take very long, but I want to share with you how well it cut. And then I want to put in the one that didn't stamp correctly all the way around, and I'm going to scan it so you can see that the outline is not going to be very good. But once we add the pencil marks, you're going to see that it's going to be perfect. And I'm even cutting those little centers that go to the poinsettia to see how well it cuts out, because I haven't cut those out before, so we're going to find out together. So it's almost done. And I do have some finished flowers that I want to share with you. I only have a couple of them. That's why I decided to go ahead and do this video, because I wanted more. So on the last thing, image. There, all done. So right here it says finish cutting. I'm going to say okay, and then I'm going to just unload my mat, and when I unload my mat, that image is still going to stay there. So I'm going to unload. Okay, and I'm just going to remove the white paper from the image, because I want you to see the image on the mat, how well it cut. It did a really good job on even the stamens that go in the center of the poinsettia. It did very well on those as well. So I want to share those with you. Okay. I want you to see how well everything cut out. It cut out perfectly. Everything is cut out perfect. And I'm doing a close-up so you guys can see that No joke, it really cut really nice. Look at that. So I'm going to go ahead and remove these, and I'm going to scan the next image that's not correct. That way you guys can see how to correct how that works. And I'm using my little spatula that came with my machine to remove it, especially because I added more glue to it. I want to make sure that they don't that I don't ruin them. Once it loses some of the tackiness, then I can just pop them off with my finger, but with my fingernail. But because I just added glue, I don't want to take that chance. Just give me one more minute, guys. Wow, it really did a good job on those. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and add the piece that is not cut out, that is not stamped correctly. So this is the piece that has the edges that are not all the way done. So let me go ahead, and I'm even going to move it over so you can see that it is that one. It's not all the way to the corner. So I'm just going to go ahead and reload my mat. So I'm going to go back to home actually, because I'm going to scan another stamp set, and it's not going to be right in the corner. So I'm going to go to home, and it's going to tell me that it's going to delete those. Oh. I'm going to go to home, and then I'm going to click OK. Now, so we're back to the home screen. Again, we're going to scan, direct cut on the machine, and we're going to leave it in black and white, and we're going to say start. And let's see what it does now. I think it's not going to do it correctly, but I could be wrong. It might pick it up. So I'm going to go OK. Again, it's going to give me all those lines, so I'm going to just drag this all the way to the corner to frame that those flowers, and I'm going to do the same over here. That should be pretty good, and I can see already those two petals, but I want you to see. I want to bring it up, magnify it to 400, that way you guys can see. So I like the way this is. Maybe bring it in a little bit more. Too much there. So I'm going to magnify this. See what it did there? Let me bring it to 400. See what it, one, we have a line right here. Two, see how it did this right there? That's because the line is not closed. So if I wanted to just cut whatever I thought looked good here, I would say okay. And the first steps that we did to erase that line, that's the same steps you would take to delete that cut and delete that cut. But we're not going to do that. I'm going to go ahead and rescan, but I'm going to take a pencil and I'm going to close those in. And then you're going to see the difference. And I'm going to unload my mat because I want to share with you how I closed it in. Let me unload the mat. Okay. Okay, I'm going to go to home because I'm going to rescan it. See right here? This one and this one are the two that I penciled in. You see they're closed now? Let's scan them and see what the machine does now. So I'm going to load the mat. And I'm going to scan, direct cut on the machine. I'm going to leave it on black and white, start. It's going to rescan. And I think we're going to get a better view this time. I might have skipped a little piece, but I think it looks good. And I'm not moving you back and forth as I'm loading the mat, because really what I want you to see is this part right here, because unloading and loading the mat, you really just line it up and push the load button. So there it is. We're going to say okay. Again, we're going to bring this in. I see that it didn't do a good job on that one. I can see it right there. For whatever reason, it still didn't do a good job. So I'm going to rescan this, and I'm going to close up another area that I see is a little open. And I think that should do it. So I'm going to just go to home, cancel everything out. Okay, let's rescan. Oh, sorry. Scan. Direct cut on the machine. We're going to stay in black and white. And let's see if I still can't get a good outline on that. I will go ahead and maybe try and smooth it, which I really don't want to mess with it because I want to keep all those jagged edges, or I'll show you how to delete it at this point, which might be the way to go. That way you guys can learn both techniques. Okay, so I'm going to say okay. It scanned it in the mat. We're going to say okay. I'm going to bring it in. It looks like it did a better job now. There. I'm going to close this in a little bit more. That looks pretty good. I'm going to say preview because I want to see what it looks like. And I'm going to bring it in right here, the magnifying glass. And as you can see that it did a really good job just by closing it in. But I'm going to zoom it in more because I want you to really be able to see this. Here is where we were having that issue where we had all those cut lines. But I had a little open area right here that I went ahead and closed up. And then here is the other flower where we closed it up right here. Let me go down all the way down. Everything looks pretty good. So we're going to say okay. But in this one, nope, I'm not going to delete those little circles because I really want them. So we're going to say okay. If I wanted to delete anything that's on the screen right there that is on my paper, I will go to edit, and then I would toggle back and forth with these arrows, and it would go through all the images. And the one I didn't want, as soon as it's highlighted in red, I would touch the trash can and okay. But I like the way everything looks, so I'm just going to say okay. Okay, I like the way it looks. Let's go ahead and cut it. Touch cut and start, because I want you to see that even though that one was open and we were having trouble with it, how well it's going to cut. And if you don't want to listen or wait till this cut, it says it's going to take 2 minutes. You can fast forward the video or whatever. I just want you to get more familiar with your machines. That way they're not just collecting dust like mine were. They're actually being used, and I'm saving wear and tear on my dies. If ever I were to lose my die or my die wouldn't cut correctly anymore, now I know that this particular stamp set cuts very well on the Brothers Scanning Cut. I really, really like the way it cuts everything out nicely. And I wish that they had a mold shaping tray for this one, but they don't, just for the smaller one. While that's cutting, I want to share with you some of the flowers that I already made and already put together for my black and white theme that I'm working on. I only have 2 of them. Well, actually, I'm going to wait. I'll wait till it's done cutting. It's almost done. believe it's on the last flower right now. Yep. So all I'm going to do here is I'm going to say okay, and I'm going to unload my mat. Okay. So it unloaded it. Now I want to share something with you while I'm on this screen. If I wanted to make an outline for the image that I had previously just cut, what I would do is I would go back on the arrow. I would go to edit, or actually I wouldn't even have to go to edit. I could just go, this little loop here, that's the outline. So I would go to outline, and I would just tap the plus one time. So it would be 0.04. That's all I would do. And then I would position another piece of cardstock in the same area on my mat as is on my screen. And then I would tell it to cut, and there would be my outline. Today I'm not going to do that, but that's how you get the outline. When you want to go back, let's say you want to go back to the original size, you would just minus it, and it would be back on 0. So I'm going to say okay, and I'm not going to save this, so I'm just going to go okay and just go to home screen. But that's how you do add an outline on things that you previously cut. Okay, and I'm going to go ahead and turn this off, but I want to share with you how well it cut. Let me unload it really quick. And this is really, really heavyweight cardstock. So I want to share with you the ones that we were having a problem with. The ones we were having a problem with was with this edge right here and this one right here. Look at how nicely it cut. There are no issues. It even cut these little small pieces right here. So I think it ended up really, really nice. Now let me share with you some that I already put together. Let me move this down a little bit. You don't have to be on the screen anymore. So I'm going to tilt you on down, and here's the ones that I created already. Look at how beautiful they look, and all I did was shape them a little bit, and because it's heavy cardstock, they're going to stand, hold up and everything. And then I added some black flat back centers there for the berries. But look at how beautiful they look. Thank you so much for watching. I hope that this helps you with your machine, and this helps you to conquer your fears about using your machine. And you saw how simple it was, guys. I'm not computer savvy whatsoever, and the fact that you don't even need a computer to use your machine. Mine is connected to my computer, but for what we did here today, it wouldn't matter if it was or if it wasn't, because it doesn't take any internet, anything to do with a computer. You can do it directly on your machine. Thank you so much for watching. I hope everyone has a great day, and God bless. Bye.